All right, here we are. We are recording this at some point in May because I am on paternity leave currently, but we're going to continue our lists, our top 10 things list. This time we're doing defenders, which I think is fun. You know, sometimes they kind of are the afterthought. We kind of go, oh yeah, this guy's good. This guy's great. Oh yeah, all pro team. All right, see you next year. You know, look at some sack numbers and everything. So we're going to provide a little bit of nuance. I'm actually very curious where Charles and Matt are going to go with this top 10 defenders list. So let's just jump right into it. Again, we are going to just say just for 2025, not contracts, not age. I mean, you might have some age too if you think there's a drop off too. So you might have a guy off your list. I might have someone like that. But we're going to go 10, 9, 8, discuss, and then just continue down the list one by one. Top 10 defenders, 2025 NFL season. I think I have all the disclaimers out there so no one get mad. I think my short list went to 20, maybe 18.
Yeah.
This was hard. Looking back, I might be a defensive line list only next year and then a back seven list, to split it up. Because
smart.
It got a little hard. And also my preferences started weighing in and it's like, oh God, I got a little heavy on the defensive line. You guys kind of have the same thing going on before we jump in?
Oh, you know my biases. Hell yeah. There's lots of defensive line on my list. But I thought I was being like biased maybe. And then honestly, I kind of started scrumming around the internet and I was like, what are the other top 10 lists? Okay, all defensive linemen for the most part. Got it. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, those are guys get paid. There's a lot of them out there right now. And I know, and Matt might be Mr. Reception Perception, but now we get some IDP thoughts here. I get to hear kind of what he thinks, preferences for those. But Matt, actually, let's start off. Let's give your 10, 9, 8, and then we'll jump to Charles, and then we'll jump to mine, and we'll discuss all three of ours. But let's hear your 10, 9, and 8 top 10 defenders 2025.
Yeah, number 10, I have Jalen Carter. Number 9, I have Aiden Hutchinson. And number 8, I have Derek Stingley. And yeah, I mean, it's there's definitely a lot of guys that can compete for that 9 and 10 spot for sure. Like I had a long list as well. And I have the same sort of thing, spoiler alert, a lot of like pass rushers, defensive linemen. It's just for me, it's like whose impact do you really just sense when you're like watching a game, and who's the most consistently disruptive players? And unfortunately, maybe that's where the bias creeps in. It's certainly the guys up front. So yeah, again, Jalen Carter, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Stingley. That's 10, 9, 8.
Good start to the list. Charles, what are your 10, 9, and 8?
My 10, 9, and 8 was 10 Jalen Carter, 9 Kyle Hamilton, 8 Nick Bosa.
Okay. All right, we got a good little mix to start. All right, my 10, 9, and 8. I got 10, Nick Bosa, 9, TJ Watt, which is we'll discuss in a minute, and then 8, Dexter Lawrence was in at number 8, which, to be honest, I should have bumped him too high. I'm already going to review my list and already say that I feel like after reviewing it already, I'm like, I should have had you maybe 1 or 2 spots higher. But I'll say we have some notes because we send these to our producers beforehand. We do not know each other's top 10s, but they got a little kind of some tidbits. So we kind of know where some of these guys might slot. I'm the only one with TJ Watt in my top 10. And I'm going to get this off. This is a legacy vote for me. It's one of those where I just didn't feel right keeping him off because I know he's going to get his probably 9+ sacks. I was going to say double-digit plus sacks, but even last year, which felt like was maybe not his best year, still has a ton of forced fumbles. Is still really hard to block one-on-one. Just affects so many games and is truly one of those true game wrecker types. And I just kind of have a bias towards that. Like guys that I just picture, it's like, if I were coaching against this team, who am I double teaming? Who am I providing chip help to? Who am I doing that? Because you feel the games where TJ Watt's not getting that help. So was there a reason, maybe, Charles, will start with you, that maybe you kept TJ Watt off? This is just for my own ego. Because I just want to hear maybe why you kept him off.
It's hard. It's hard. Well, it's hard because Steelers fans are very sensitive about TJ. I don't think
especially about TJ Watt.
Especially about TJ Watt. And I mean, he's one of the best defensive players of this decade. It's one of the, if I can say you're one of the best defensive Pittsburgh Steelers of all time, like you are certified, right?
You're on a good list. Yeah.
I just thought that last year, for me at least, where you have like you have these years where TJ Watt is in DPOY contention or he wins, and or he comes in second to Myles Garrett, and Steelers fans are freaking out. And I think if you looked at some of the metrics at even his best years, it's a little boom bust as a pass rusher where he's not getting like consistent pressure, I think, like a Myles Garrett or a Micah Parsons. But when he does get pressure, he's almost always wrecking the offense. And I thought that this past year, as he gets a little older, was kind of maybe like the biggest extenuation we've seen of that, where there's some plays where, or some games where he was kind of quiet, or you can look at like the first game against Atlanta, where he crushed them, and you're just kind of right. Yes, yes. You got TJ Watt and Caleb McGarry, and your quarterback can't move. It got ugly pretty fast.
It was
I just think I thought last year was a little bit too much boom bust for his game, and but it, like he was like fringe top 10 for me. It's not like this is a slight. He still had 11 sacks and led the league in forced fumbles. So I don't think having him here is wrong. I just thought there were some guys who were a little bit more consistent down and down.
That's very fair. And Matt, you, same kind of thing for you, or same line of thinking. You were the only one with Aiden Hutchinson in your top 10, which actually surprised me because he was, to full disclosure here, TJ Watt was like my last add to the list. I kind of have like my little short list. I flopped out Hutch and flopped out like 3 other guys. Quentin Williams, spoilers, did not make my list. He was another guy I try to sneak into my top 10. I just couldn't figure out how to get him in there, but that was the guy that I was looking at too. But I know last year, and it was a great bold take you had, Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year. It was looking great for you, and and then the injury happened, and we looks like that he was trying to come back if they made a playoff run. They say that, so we'll see. Hopefully, coming back this year. But why do you have Hutchinson on your list outside? I mean, I know he's a great player, but why did you plop him onto this top 10 list?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, obviously, because you're only measuring 6 weeks from him, 5 games, 6 weeks, because they had an early bye, but he was the best pass rusher in the NFL from a production standpoint. 7.5 sacks, 25% pressure rate, 16 QB hits. Like, again, all leads the NFL in the first 6 weeks. And just, he was somebody that could not just, I thought was a consistent player down to down, but also was, as Charles mentioned about TJ Watt, who was one of my first cuts as well. You know, honestly, the reason that I couldn't put TJ Watt on the list is because I think Cam Hayward was better than him last year, and like Hayward wasn't making my list. So that was kind of, maybe that's stupid logic, but that's a big part of why I didn't have Watt on my top 10. Or again, he's like one of the first players off, and I agree with Charles. Like, he wasn't as consistently impactful down the stretch. Whereas again, with as Charles said about TJ Watt, like Hutchinson could wreck an entire offense, especially obviously if he was going against a subpar tackle. And I know in some people's minds, it's like, all right, well, we got to dock him a little bit, for the level of competition. But it's similar to when you're scouting players for college. Okay, well, yeah, if he's absolutely dominating that lower level of competition, if he's clearly the best player on the field, if he's wrecking the entire unit on the other side, I think you can still give that production a premium. So, to me, I thought he kind of had to make the list, especially if we're saying we're taking him for 2025. I do think he is one of the first 10 defenders I would take for this season.
And it seems not fair because, so Nick Bosa, for me, why he's 10 is I've always thought Nick Bosa is kind of a middling run defender. And that's why I've never considered him like, I mean, he's unbelievable as a pass rusher. Like, just, he's ridiculous. Gets pressure after pressure after pressure after pressure. But as a run defender, that's why I always kind of have him a half tier below some of the other guys. And that's the same for me with Hutch, is that it's that same kind of thing. It's like, oh, you're just kind of average against that. And that's the only, but again, he's really good. It's just that we're now this tier of the elite guys. So it's like, well, this is your blemish that makes you 12 as opposed to 8 or 9 or 10. Like, which again, we're splitting hairs here, and it's going to suck when social media tweets out the top 10 list. And then Hutchinson's not on there. No one's going to hear these honorable mentions or these discussions. But that's why I maybe my splitting hair stuff is why I maybe knocked him off just that one little step. But that was it for me. But
the Nick Bosa stuff is kind of funny because I was looking at his Pro Football Reference page this morning because I agree with you. Like, with the run defense stuff, it's kind of inconsistent. But it does feel crazy to say that. Like, if I'm a 49ers fan, I'm like, yo, this guy gets 15 to 20 TFLs a year. What are you talking about?
Right, yeah.
But, it's the style of play, right? It's the boom bust. Like, I'm hunting. And, hunters miss sometimes, and that can kill you.
Did you know Nick Bosa has according to Next Gen Stats, God, I love this stuff is crack. Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa have the fastest get-off times in the NFL.
That makes sense.
7 seconds is their average get off. That is and I mean, these guys are big. Like, Bosa looks skinnier, but he's still like a big dude. And Garrett, of course, is just a freak, but I'm sure we'll talk about him later down on the list. All right. I also want to bring up Derek Stingley. Matt had him at 8. Charles might have him as well. He was one of my first cuts, and this one hurt my heart so much. Because again, this was a preference of tier. This was if I'm always going to build around the defensive line, the edges before the corners. But I do think Derek Stingley is either corner 2 or corner 3 at worst in the NFL right now. But I do want to mention that. I know we're going to talk about him probably in a second as well. And then Charles, you had Kyle Hamilton at 9. He was another one of my guys that just missed the cut. The slot guys were hard for me. I have like 3 slot guys are all next to each other, but we'll talk more about him. I'm sure he is further down the list. So let's get into defenders 7 and 6, because this is actually where even some more crossover happens. Matt, start us off with defenders 7 and 6 on your top 10 list.
Yeah, I've got 2 Niners here. I've got Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And honestly, after I submitted the list, I kind of wish I had swapped Bosa and Stingley. That's just how high I feel about Derek Stingley. But so 2 Niners here for me. And Fred Warner's the only true off-ball linebacker on my list. And honestly, like the only guy I really thought about, other than I think if like at the very end, if we publish the honorable mentions, like I put Zach Bond at the very end of my honorable mentions just because he had that type of campaign. But I mean, again, the body of work is obviously shorter with him than with everybody else. But I felt like those 2 guys had to make it. And yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said about Bosa. But he's still, for me, from a pass rush standpoint, is just unbelievable. So
he's just so good. I know, and the numbers bear that out too. Charles, your defender 7 and 6.
7-6. I have Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, good. Beef. All right, my 7 and 6. I got Max Crosby and Jalen Carter, and so now we all have Carter on our list. So Matt had him at 10. Charles had him at 10. I had him at 6. I actually thought I would be the low guy. I thought Charles might be a little hot on him, because that was your dark horse defensive player of the candidate, which I love that too, because he is ascending. I think anyone who watched the playoffs knows he is ascending. But why did he make your list? Let's talk a little bit about Jalen Carter, because he's on all of our lists so far.
Oh man, at his best, I mean, at his best, you can convince me he's the best defensive player in the league.
Truly unblockable.
Truly unblockable. And it's not just like the traits that you see. Dude, he's so smart. Like when it comes to reading blocks and knowing how to exploit them and setting himself up for his teammates, and then also being able to make plays by himself. I just thought the guys above him maybe were a little bit more consistent. Like I have Dexter Lawrence in here. He's the best defensive tackle in football right now. And then Chris Jones, there's so much you can do with him. And I think he saves a lot from some of the other talent that they've actually collected on that defensive line. Like it helps if you've missed on a couple of picks when you can put Chris Jones at edge and feel good about him getting off the edge and getting a sack. So the versatility there just pushed me up a little bit. And like I said, for Dexter Lawrence, I think he's the best defensive tackle in the game right now. So there's a lot, and it's been kind of interesting to see who's filled like the post Aaron Donald void. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Carter is the best defensive tackle in football this year, because he's still a young guy, still got a lot of time. I just thought there's just a little bit of consistency where you see him run a little cold sometimes. But even then, if you look from sophomore year versus rookie year, like that was a big improvement. Because rookie year, I remember like the first 5 games, I was like, holy, is this a DPOY candidate? And then hit the wall. And, back half the season wasn't as good. But this year, you saw all the way through the Super Bowl, he was that guy. I guess I just want to see him do it again, But Dexter Lawrence, that's the dude. That's the dude.
Yeah, no, he's very. Yeah, Dexter Lawrence was 8 for me, and it's you don't see nose tackles as disruptive as that. On top of having the size of a traditional nose tackle, but he can do the 2 gapping. All right, hold it, but then that's not using his strengths. He's a gap shooter at 340 pounds. Like I've been really trying to find a comparison for Dexter Lawrence in my brain, and it's been maybe one of those Jaguars defensive tackles, like Henderson or something like that.
I don't know.
But he's better than that, right? Yeah, he's more disruptive.
Better.
He's quicker. He's more disruptive. But yeah, he's just a rare talent. And that's the guy I wish I actually bumped a little bit, because he was, again, on a defensive player of the year track as well at nose tackle on a bad team. But because he was just doing crazy things at that position. And then Matt, you said Fred Warner though, which I love. I might have him a little bit higher. Speak to like watching. I know you do a lot of charting. I'm sure when you watch the 49ers defense, Fred Warner shows up a lot. So speak to like kind of how that coverage ability and why he makes this top 10 pretty easy, definitively. I mean, he's going to be high up on all of our boards.
Yeah, it slam dunk had to be, and it certainly could have had him higher. And yeah, he just like not, it doesn't quite like erase the middle of the field from a coverage standpoint, but he makes it like a pain in the ass to try to throw over the middle for any team.
Like a really good center in basketball. Where you just,
yeah, it's a great way of saying it. Just that's the thing, is just the arm length and just the size. That alone makes it a problem, but it's also, I mean, instincts can kind of be like, is it instincts or is it preparation? And like, you wouldn't really know unless you actually sat down and like had walked through every piece of film with him. But whatever it is, either instincts or preparation is elite and like rare at this position. And again, I think he's so far and away the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. That's a big part of it too. But yeah, I mean, just so many teams want to attack over the middle of the field. So many teams want to like take these shots off play action, like overs and digs, and he's just almost never in the wrong place. Like he's not biting on play action too hard. And if he does like give it a second like forward jump, the recovery speed to still run down the middle and close those gaps is just unbelievable. Like we talk about top 10 cornerbacks and like elite cornerbacks just like blocking off one side of the field. Like, oh, you're not throwing over to Revis Island. Again, Fred Warner doesn't quite have that level of impact, but pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. It's a
Warner
cover
Peninsula. Yeah, he kind of does have that area. We'll talk more about him, but I kind of want to wet the beak a little bit because it's just, he's truly one of my favorite players in the league and has been. I mean, not just me. I think anyone that watches the 49ers or watches the NFL, it's like that. He's just different. There's not a lot of guys like this right now that can truly do it. And knock on wood, doesn't miss a lot of time either, which is pretty astounding considering his body type and everything. The one guy I was high on, the only one that had Max Crosby in the top 10, and I understand this one because there's so many tiebreakers I have with this. I love the effort. I love that he's a plus run defender and a plus pass rusher. And he's always on the field, which probably led to some stuff last year, but always on the field. He's an Iron Man, plays hard. Some of his production is because he's on the field the most, like the counting stats are always going to be higher because he's playing 1,000+ snaps. But when you watch him, it's 120 miles an hour on top of having great hands, top of having bend. And then the thing that he can hold up against the run and be disruptive against the run. Like Max Crosby fits in any type of defense and in any type of role. And so that's why I kind of just always start these lists, and he didn't make my top 10. I'll be honest. When I first kind of did, I always like just do, all right, right now, without thinking on it, these are the first 10 names that come to my mind. He did not make that. And then I was, oh yeah, Max Crosby. I love Max Crosby. That guy just kept moving him up. And maybe this is a tad high. Maybe I truly honestly maybe prefer Bosa on his best day more than Max. But I just think just that run ability, always hitting the snaps, always just be able to handle all that. That's why I kind of gave him the nod to make the top 10. It's kind of just one of those guys I admire because of his play style and everything. So just, again, preferences of these guys because there's so many good defenders right now, so many good defensive linemen and edges. We're going to take our next break, I should say, and we'll come back with the top 5 defenders for 2025. All right, we are back, and we're going to get into our top 5. Matt, why don't you start us off? Numbers 5 and 4 from your top 10 defenders list.
Number 5, I have Chris Jones. Don't really feel like I need to explain that one to anybody who's watched the NFL in the last few seasons. But number 4, I have Kyle Hamilton. Definitely seems like I'm the high guy on Hamilton here.
Oh man, it's a good player though, so I can't wait to talk about him. Charles, 5 and 4 for you.
Number 5, I had Derek Stingley at 5. I have Fred Warner at 4. Are we about to all have the same top 3?
Probably, dude.
Probably.
I felt like the top 3 was pretty locked in. So
it's fun that we have hold on, we'll get to it. But I have 5. I have Fred Warner. 4, Chris Jones. So looks like we are working towards that same top 3. I mean, these guys are just all awesome. So it's kind of like, who do you want to gush about now? Charles, you have Derek Stingley at 5. Matt, you had him at 8. Did not make my list, and it broke my heart because I love Derek Stingley. But Charles, why is he a top 5 defender to you? And I'm going to guess corner 2.
Yeah,
I'm assuming here because the reigning defensive player of the year is the corner. But why is he corner 2 in the NFL to you and one of the top 5 defenders?
I Dude, there's just something about watching a guy who can just beat the crap out of receivers in man coverage that is just so much fun. Like,
I know.
Derek Stingley at the catch point is as fun as anything I think you can find in the league. And also, I just think, as someone who never sniffed playing defensive back or anything outside of a line position, it's always so crazy to me the guys who can backpedal and have the athleticism to turn their hips and get back in phase and then go make plays on the ball. And he just does it so consistently. And I'm really happy for him that he has lived up to the hype, because I remember when he was 18, starting at cornerback at LSU, people were calling him Baby Revis. And I was like, whew, that's tough. And now we're here, and he's one of the highest paid players in the league. It's absolute shutdown. I went back and I watched their game against the Chargers in the playoffs, and man, he was just dominant.
He wiped
in that
him out.
game. Wiped them out.
Yeah.
Versus the run and against the pass, like he was just all over the place. So it's crazy to me that like he's CB2, like there's someone out there better than him. but man, I love Derek Stingley's game. It's just really an appreciation for the guys who can lock down a man to man. I think that's so special.
Can I say one thing on Stingley real quick? I mean, just because I was also just watching this defense because I was charting A.D. Mitchell recently, and that's the best room that like to encapsulate what we're talking about here with Derek Stingley. That I find all of those perimeter players for the Colts, whether it's Mitchell, Pierce, Pittman, like not Downs because he's the slot guy, like they're all degrees of fascinating to me. And then you just watch like Derek Stingley kick their ass for 4 quarters and like make the quarterback already makes life hard on himself, Anthony Richardson. But like now the job is even harder for a guy like him, because this guy is not only just always in these guys' hip pocket. Like A.D. Mitchell's a guy who's kind of, I'm going to say, loose with the details to be nice about it. He's a little loose with the details. And it's just like, oh, wow, you're loose with details against a cornerback like this. You are going to get zero separation, zero sort of margin for error there. So, and at the catch point stuff too. Like, I mean, Quentin Johnson, again, a guy I know struggles at the catch point, but that was you were making that point, Charles. Like, he was just quite literally nothing getting done there.
Yeah, it's something to be said too. It's like, you bring up A.D. Mitchell. That's a great example. When guys are loose with their route breaks, and this is why we talk about it so much, unless you're a freak athlete, it's so hard to get away with it because you have tells, like a pitcher, like having tells on what pitch you're about to throw. So if you start rising up as you're about to break, a corner in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or, ACC is going to go, like, can't make a play on it. But Derek Stingley and these top tier guys, they go, oh, you're rising up, I'm breaking on it. And then the quarterback goes, oh, shoot. So it might not even a target happens because the quarterbacks see that closing and they go, I can't throw this open. I can't throw this to the outside. It's already swallowed up. So like that's why those route details matter so much, because you're giving away so much if you have the rising up, if you have the, I have a pitter patter before I break on every route, those types of things. So it's a great point to bring up though. And that's why it's cool to watch a guy like Stingley. And I mean, Sauce Gardner, I know that the Jets defense kind of fell off last year. Sauce Gardner is a very good, made my top 20 list or, top 18 or whatever. But it's funny. Like Stingley and Sauce came in the same class, how good Sauce was looking. And then now Stingley's catching up. And it's like cool to have so many of these dudes at corner right now. Like it's felt, we had Ramsey, some other guys out there, but it was just kind of like, now it's like, oh no, these are like Charles, is your first point. This is a lockdown man corner. Lock your ass down for 60 snaps. And we haven't had that in a while. It's pretty cool to talk about those types of guys. So now I'm just regretting that I don't have him in my top 10 because it was pretty easy for me to gush about him anyways. Matt, you have Kyle Hamilton at number 4. Charles, you had him at number 9. Another guy that's breaking my heart, but my defensive line edge sizes biases have creeped into this, even with a 225-pound safety / slot. But Matt, why did you have Kyle Hamilton in your top 5? I shouldn't say why. It's a pretty damn good defender, but explain your ranking here.
First of all, I mean, just really unique player, uniquely built. He's got those like pterodactyl arms where, again, he can just close down lanes, especially when he is that nickel defender or the slot or whatever. But then really like his move from the slot to safety was kind of like the cascading effect of what saved Baltimore's defense this year. And that's only possible if you can be an ace at really at both positions. So now they have Malachi Starks. It's gonna be really interesting to see kind of like how they work those guys kind of in tandem, or where Hamilton plays, because he was so impactful as a safety. And again, this is something people that watch film talk about a lot. It's hard to sometimes measure the impact of a safety, because like how many plays are they super involved with? Well, Hamilton's involved in a lot of plays, man, and it's because he plays all over the place, but also because he's a smart defender. He's consistently in the right places, and again, just the overall frame and arm length of him just makes him something of a truly unique advantage. So he's another defensive player that I just love watching, offenses go against, and I think he gives people real headaches.
And Charles, you have a number 9. Why continue the Kyle Hamilton love, because it's warranted for everything Matt just said there.
Matt stole what I was going to say. I mean, he saved their defense last year, and it's just. I always just get my mind blown watching him play sometimes, because it's just crazy to see someone that big, that fluid, that smart, and actually like finish plays. And I think when you just look at what he's meant to that defense, whether it's in the slot, like when Marcus Williams was at his best, or last year when they had to move him back to cover deep and cover in the middle of the field, like he was able to do all of it. So this list is tough. I think you need to give yourself some slack. It's not like quarterbacks, right? There's only 32 of those guys. There's how many defensive players are starting in the NFL?
11 times 32. So.
Yeah, plus all the guys who are still getting about
350 plus defenders.
This isn't receivers or quarterbacks, is defenders. That's what that makes it really, really difficult.
Dude, I was torn over putting like Will Anderson on this list or not. Christian Gonzalez, another guy that's
make it.
Christian Gonzalez is not going to come up, but he's another player that I think maybe this year he could be involved in this list.
Trent McDuffie, Brian Branch, Devin Witherspoon.
Jesse Davis. There's a lot of guys.
There's some slot guys that I'm like, man, how am I keeping you off? Like, I think Devin Witherspoon is a guy that's going to he's awesome. He's just got to stay on the field. I love him. When he's on the field, I consider him like a top 12-ish defender. He's like 18th, actually, when I started doing this list, because I was like, well, I like that guy. There's a lot of these good slot players, too. Like that. And what you guys are saying about Hamilton, though, and I hate that I kept him off, but because he's just such a skeleton key, a Swiss Army knife, problem solver, plays in the slot, can cover receivers, can blitz, then can go and play deep and be a zone defender and be actually exceptional on the back end as well. It's just really cool to watch him unfold. So, and they can do a lot on the back end. They're so exotic on the back end because of Kyle Hamilton, because he can understand and do all these things. He's one of the smartest players in the NFL at any position. Actually, him, Fred Warner, like that's another guy that's one of the smartest players at any position. So I'm just like, I don't know why I do this to myself. I also, this whole time, have been trying to figure out, looking up Derek Stingley stats. I'm just a little too slow to it, but finally got to it. Of all corners and slot corners last year, 300 or more coverage snaps, there's a good amount here. He's second in success rate allowed. So really only 1/3 of targets towards him were a successful target. He only allowed 4.9 yards per target. Like, Stingley's freaking good. He allowed a 46.7% completion percentage. Like, that's pretty good. That's a guy that should be in your top 10, right, guys? But no, Hamilton, Stingley, really good players. I want to gush real too, hear about Chris Jones as well. You guys already said it, but Matt, when your one-liner is like, I don't need to expand on this. Chris Jones, though, is to me, just a true game wrecker. Turns it up a little bit as the weather gets colder. He picks and chooses his spots against the run, and then but then playoff Chris Jones is one of the best players in the league. So he's earned that right. But when he turns it on, he's unblockable, and he could just do so much. So that's why I kind of include him in the top 5. Fred Warner stuff. Not many guys can do what he does. He's allows the 49ers to play that certain way that they do. We've talked a lot about it. I have about Michael Williams and everything, but Fred Warner does so much to erase the middle, like Matt said, that they can do soft boxes. They can have him carry. Watch Fred Warner play a high-low. He'll take away the high and the low. As the quarterback is he progresses quicker than the quarterback, because he'll be like, oh, took it away. Quarterback should be going here. I'm going to go there. And then you can see the quarterback going like, younger quarterbacks go, oh, shoot. Like, he can do those things. I watched him against Kenny Pickett 2 years ago, and poor Pickett had no idea what to do because Fred
I know
Warner
exactly
was
what game you're talking about.
Yep, it was week 1, I think. Yeah,
He killed, wiped out torture stuff,
everything. Dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So just want to gush about those guys because they're worth gushing about. Love the Stingley love the Kyle Hamilton love as well. But let's get to the podium, the top 3. Matt, who's on your podium? Top 3 defenders for 2025.
Number 3, Micah Parsons. Number 2, Myles Garrett. Number 1, Pat Surtain.
Woo! Love it. Charles, your top 3.
I wish I could just put these guys all at one, but I went 3, Pat Surtain, 2, Myles Garrett, 1, Micah Parsons.
Oh, I had the exact same. 3, Pat Surtain, 2, Myles Garrett, 1, Micah Parsons. All right. Let's start with you, Matt. Why is Pat Surtain the second, PS2, your number 1 defender for 2025?
I mean... he's reigning defensive player of the year. That was cool.
Do I need to say more?
Yeah, right. Need I say more? But no, like playing cornerback is so hard. And this is something I've gotten an appreciation for, obviously, over the last 12 years. Like these dudes I think they have the toughest job in the NFL, like covering these, especially nowadays, where number 1 receivers travel all over the place. Like you just don't get a lot of guys like Pat Surtain who tracks the number 1 wide receiver, who, maybe doesn't go into the slot all the time, but when he does, he can be just as, much of a force erasing player as he is on the outside. So I think he's to me the best corner in the league, and like there's a teardrop down. Like I think as much as I love Stingley, we talked about him, like the rest of the guys there, whether it's Stingley or McDuffie or Gonzalez or Sauce Gardner, like I think that group just like in the order that I just had it there could rotate any year, and I just feel like Surtain cemented there at that top spot. And like not to make this a point about Travis Hunter, but all throughout the draft process, you post clips of like, oh, look, here's Torrey Horton, a nice comeback route on Travis Hunter. Here's Kyle Williams getting a nice route on Travis Hunter, and Alec Iomanner, he had a good game against Travis Hunter. Whatever, every now and again you get some reply. Well, like why do people love Travis Hunter as a corner prospect if every receiver in this class has like a good rep against him? Like, because playing cornerback is freaking hard, bro. But like you very rarely show like a good rep against somebody is Pat Surtain. Like, I mean, and if it is, it's a tough situation, or something like that. Like that's to me just why he was. I love Garrett, I love Parsons, but I felt pretty convicted with putting Surtain at number 1.
I think we all love Surtain. I think, did we all vote for him for Defensive Player of the Year, like on our award show?
I think so.
Yeah. I think he was like one of our few unanimous picks too,
which is crazy. Which is crazy because it was a crowded field this year. And again, it just speaks to what a good player this guy is.
And I pulled up some of those stats from that show too, because I remember the one stat that kind of is sticking out to me of like good corner play is yak allowed, because that means you're close to the guy that caught the ball and you can bring him down, or he's not even to get to that point. But even just looking at Surtain's stats, he only allowed 1.9 yards after the catch per reception, which was the best among all DBs last year, tied for 8th best since 2016. He allowed the lowest amount of yards per snap because he's never targeted. He's only targeted 10.9% of all snaps, which is lowest among outside corners. 0.6 yards per snap allowed. Lowest mark in Next Gen Stats database among all corners since 2016. The lowest. And he's on man, and the other guys that are near him, AJ Terrell in 2021, Chris Harris in 2016, Jalen Johnson 2023, and Patrick Peterson in 2018. He's in man coverage on 40% of the snaps. Johnson's 21%. Patrick Pearson his year was 23%. Like, so this is lockdown. This is what it looks like. This is Revis Island. This is what these dudes look like. Size. He's an unbelievable tackler. Only 1 missed tackle last year. 45 of 46 tackle attempts. Lowest missed tackle rate among any defender in the entire NFL. And he's a corner. So yeah, totally get why he's your number 1 guy. Charles, any more love for Patrick Surtain II, or do you want to move on to Micah Parsons, your number 1 pick?
I think Pat Surtain, like when you go back to draft season and you hear draft analysts and media people and coaches talking about how they stress like size and athleticism, like someone like Pat Surtain is, and the yak stat, like that's why, because we need to finish plays in the open field. We need to be big and strong enough to do that. And just looking back at his combine. It was honestly crazier than I remember. 6'2", 208, 1.57, 10 yard, 4.41, 40-inch vertical, almost 11 feet on the broad jump. I mean,
how long is long arms too, right?
Yeah, long arms too, 32 and a half. So that's like offensive
ideal corner.
Size. Yeah, it's literally
has pedigree and was coached by Nick Saban. Yeah, and he was the second corner selected. Figure that one out. JC Horn's a fine player, is a good player, but like still, even in that process, it was like, don't overthink this. This guy's going to be a dude. But you had Micah Parsons at number 1. So did I. But why'd you have Parsons at 1? Maybe even go on to Myles Garrett. Maybe why'd you give him the nod over Myles Garrett too? I know it's hard. I mean, these guys are all unbelievable. People have listened to the show have probably have heard me say this a bunch, but after Micah came back from injury last year, dude, he was feral, like absolutely feral. Like and for someone whose brain like his is always turned on, like it was insane to watch him go. Because clearly he wanted to get to the playoffs, even though that was basically out of reach by the time he got back. And every single snap, he was dedicating his entire life force to try and get a win for the Cowboys. And what that looks like is someone who is basically unblockable and has quarterbacks like running for their lives every single snap. The game against Cincinnati where him and Joe Burrow were going back and forth. But like the thing is, yeah, Micah can get in the backfield that many times to affect him. Yeah, and Joe survived. Like, you know, it was 2 heavyweight boxers going back and forth. But the fact that Micah had like 10 opportunities to sack Joe Burrow is something within itself. So I think this year, if he can pick up back where he left off, I think this could potentially be a career year for him. And I just don't think he really has any holes in his game. As an edge rusher. I mean, I don't think Pastor Fan has any holes in his game. I don't really think Myles Garrett has any holes in his game either. So that's why I said before, I wish I could have copped out and put them all at number 1. But just for the fervor that Micah showed last year and the desperation to win, I think it unlocked something really sinister in his game that I really enjoyed watching. Sinister.
Dude, he was like crying, like yelling at his teammates after losses.
Yeah. Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah. He was a one-man team.
Yeah.
He truly was. So after week 9, he led the league. He was tied for the league overall in pressure rate, 19.1%, according to Next Gen Stats. After week 10, when he came back from injury, after week 10, 19.5% pressure rate. He had 55 QB pressures. Second was Trey Hendrickson, also on my short list. Sorry, he didn't make the top 10, but had 46, 55 compared to 46. He had 11 sacks from week 10 to week 18. He had 11 sacks in one half of a season. I don't know if anyone needs to know this, but 11 times 2 is 22. So he basically on a 20 sack rate. He had 27 quick QB pressures in the second half of the season. He had 8 pressures when he was double teamed. Next highest was so crazy. Next highest was 4. Next highest was 4. Yep. Next highest was 4. All the other guys were defensive tackles. Double team pressures. He's a force of nature. So I totally agree with you, Charles, here. And on top of it, he's not the best run defender. It's more he's kind of can be boom bust, but the booms are gigantic booms. And the thing is, he doesn't get, and this is my difference with like a Nick Bosa and maybe with Micah, is Nick Bosa knows he's blocked in the run game. He just kind of goes, okay, okay, I'm going to wait for 3rd and 7 and we'll be okay. Micah gets blocked. He's like, no, this is not happening. He's like my toddler when I tell him no. He's like, no, this is no, you're not doing this to me. He's fighting it every which way. And I love, he plays with his hair on fire. He's like inspiring to watch. Like he inspires you to do better because he plays so hard and plays so fast. So he was my number 1 guy because he's just a force of nature. And that's crazy considering Myles Garrett is the other guy in this list. But maybe Matt, Myles Garrett love here too. Let's just continue this. Myles Garrett though, why was he make your top 3 pretty definitively? And number 2 for me and Charles as well.
Well, first of all, just one last thing on Micah Parsons. Like, anybody that criticizes him for being like online too much or like doing a podcast, like, well, is he really putting the work in? Like, I mean, yes. Shut the hell up. Like, what? Yeah, like what? Watch him play for 2 seconds. Like he's somebody we're just like, yeah, the tape is your resume. Also, like if you ever watch him on any of these shows where he's like doing like draft analysis, he's like a complete football junkie. Like he knows all these guys and like real deal, like has obviously watched the tape, not just like opened up a stat sheet and has some platitudes about, a guy who's like big or something. Like he really knows these, like I remember like when Ricky Pearsall got drafted, he had like all these notes about Ricky Pearsall. It's like, what? It's like some random University of Florida.
Him and Stroud are like legit
Stroud
junkies on this stuff. I've seen so many random clips of Stroud talking about random receivers. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Which like you don't have to be that guy to be a great football player. And there's a lot of great football players who aren't that way. But again, just like, if anybody ever questioned his like commitment to it because he tweets a lot or has a podcast, like give me a break. Myles Garrett, though, I mean, he's just the prototype. Like, I feel like you'd want to put him high on this list if you just saw him in person. I mean, and if you haven't ever seen him in person, it is like a sight to behold. His biceps are like as big as my head, and I got a big ass head here. So like he's an unbelievable physical specimen. He takes over games. Again, he just really is like the prototype of this position. He's another guy that he's not like a net negative or even like I would say average against the run. Like he will hawk running backs down. He gives a ton of effort as well. So somebody that is built that way, has that type of athleticism and then also plays with a lot of effort, I think is just, that's why he's probably a Hall of Famer someday.
Yeah. Garrett's cool to me in the sense that when he's like, I'm unblockable, it happens. Like it's like fourth quarter Myles Garrett is one of the greatest things you'll ever watch in sports. Anytime it's really cool because he's a very intelligent guy as well. It's really cool to watch him know when he's about to get singled up and he's kind of like, oh, you guys are going to do this? All right. Like game over. Like he is the closer. Like he is, doors open, you're single. It's like, he's different obviously, but Von Miller is like this as well. Okay. All right. I know I'm getting chipped out here. This sucks. I'm getting chipped again. This sucks. Oh, there's no running back to my side. There's no tight end to my side. Done. Game over, door shut, sack, 2 seconds, done, play over. And I love that when it's a true game wrecker. The offense to the other side of the ball made a mistake in their design or their execution, and the play's over. And that's what Myles Garrett threatens to do every single snap. I mean, he pressure rate, good against the run, plays every snap, like all those types of things. It's like just so definitively a top player. Just want the rest of the team to get their together.
It'd be nice if he's in more of those like closing situations, right? Because you've got to wait. You got to wait a while to get to those moments. But hey, I also would not have the fortitude to turn down $40 million a year. I'm okay with what. Yeah, I'm okay with what happened here.
He can recruit whatever quarterback he wants, everyone that they draft. It's all good. So
was the plan Dylan? Remember when the Brown, like Andrew Siciliano had that that interview with him when he's like, "Oh, I know the plan at quarterback. Don't worry." Do you think they told him, "Hey, Dylan Gabriel's the plan," and he's like, "Hell yeah, sign me up, Dylan Gabriel, $40 million a year. I don't care who it is."
We're gonna double dip at quarterback. And it's not going to be around. It's going to be round 3 and round 5. And actually, we're going to trade for another one, too. That's exactly how they sold him. To recap the top 10, Matt had Jalen Carter, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Stingley, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Chris Jones, Kyle Hamilton, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, and Patrick Surtain. The second, Charles had Jalen Carter, Kyle Hamilton, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Derek Stingley, Fred Warner, Patrick Surtain, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons. And myself, Nate Tice, had Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, God, it feels weird to say that name now, Dexter Lawrence, Max Crosby, Jalen Carter, Fred Warner, Chris Jones, Patrick Surtain, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons. That was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for was dipping into the dark side on the defense. Actually, Charles is used to the defensive line talk. He's like,
let's go.
You want to talk about receiver releases a little bit, Charles? Let's talk about some 7-step drop back concepts. I
got PTO calling my name, I think.
That's it. No, but thank you all for joining us. We are closing it out today. We'll be back next week, continuing these ranking shows while I'm away. Then also Charles and Matt holding down the fort while I get to enjoy, I should say, child number 2. I'm sure I'm not sleeping by the time you guys are listening to this. I'm sure I'm a zombie at this point in time, but by the time this hits your ears. But I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice on Twitter, Nate Tice on Blue Sky. That's Charles McDonald. where can they find you, Charles? And what are you working on? Actually, no, not what you're working on, because this is
I
happening
don't
in a
know.
month.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna figure that out later. Maybe.
You're working
Maybe
on
I'll
life.
figure it out. I don't know. Yeah, might go to the lake today. Who knows?
You gotta, yeah, I know, right? This will be June something, so you might be out there. But that's Four Verts, Mr. Four Verts. You can find him wherever you have your social media sites. And that's Matt Harmon, Matt Harmon _BYB on Twitter, and just Matt Harmon on Blue Sky. I finally figured that one out. I'll remember it on the top of my head finally, but don't know what you're working on in June. Probably some charting. Are you charting like, what are you charting by the time in June? Do you do that?
Yeah, I got year 3, year 4 receivers coming out in June. So, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
A lot of interesting players. In
Year
June,
3.
I'm working on a landscaping project outside, actually. That's my main focus.
There you go.
Outside is my focus.
That's a good answer right there. I know changing my golf grip will probably be my focus this summer. But I also make sure to send those mailbag questions to football301mailbag@yahoosports.com or leave us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We seriously appreciate all the reviews that you guys leave. So keep on doing that. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us, like I said, and watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you to everyone for listening. See you guys next time.